But there is a long way between discomfort and pain and fatigue. So discomfort doesn't mean that you have to stop. Hey everyone, Andrew here, Melbourne Superman. Today I want to come on and talk a little bit about something that I did the other day. So basically I ran my best mile. I didn't try to do it. Well, I obviously tried to do it, but I didn't sort of train leading up to it specifically for that. It was just a lot of different things. And I thought I'd come on and talk a little bit about my running for the last about 4 or 5 months or so, and how I think that things led me to running my absolute best mile. So it was a sub 6 minute mile. It was 5:45. I've never done that before. I've never gone under 6. And this mile happened to be 50 minutes, 50 minutes into a moderate effort run that I was already running. So my recovery pace, just to give you an idea, is about anywhere from a 9:50 to a 10-minute mile. That keeps my heart rate at about 138 to 143. My moderate pace is probably closer to an 8:30 to a 9:15, depending on the day. And that can put my heart rate anywhere from 148 to 155 or so. And it's kind of like that gray area, right? So it doesn't have any necessary benefits, but it's not recovering you. It's just kind of getting you to live in a tiny bit of uncomfort and just to push outside of the boundaries. I believe it's very important, as does my coach, Kirk DeWint, to utilize all aspects of your aerobic and anaerobic system, and that includes gray areas. So you want to be used to working in there, because a lot of times in races, especially in like trail races, you're going to sit there. You might not be able to redline the whole time. You're certainly not going to be running easy the whole time if you're racing it, and you might be in that gray area. So you might want to have time in there to sort of see what it looks like. So for me, my mile, now I want to preface this by saying that there are no secret tricks. This is not a video that's going to give you secret formula or a quick fix on your mile or your running. This took time. My PR, my PB, when I first started taking running a little bit more seriously in 2018 was a 7:35. At that point, that was the fastest I'd ever run the mile, 7:35. In 2022, that was my next real sort of crack at a time trial. And that was my first time trial with the mile with Coach Kirk DeWint. So almost 2 years ago, just maybe 2 months shy of 2 years ago. And that was a 6:10. And I was blown away with that. I was so excited. And then 2024, the other day, I ran a 5:45. So in essence, 6 years it's taken me to shave off just under 2 minutes of my mile. And that's a lot. Like, that is a lot. That I feel is an anomaly, right? So you're not going to shave that much time. Like in 2 years, less than 2 years, shaving off 25 seconds in your mile, that's tough. There's a lot of things I think that went into it with me, which I'll talk about. But so, and in between all that, there was a lot of failed mile attempts. Like I tried to run my fastest mile in there between that, 2019, 2020, 21, 23, whatever. It doesn't mean, like these three, doesn't mean that these were the only time trials I had. So there was a lot of failures in there with the successes. So I also want to say that this time trial was not planned. Like, it wasn't part of my run. I probably shouldn't have done it. The first thing I said to Kirk when I did it, I was like, look, I don't want you to be mad, but, and he wasn't. He was excited about it. So that was cool. For me, my 5:45 mile, that used to be my stride pace, right? So like getting up to a 5:45 just with a stride. So, okay, I don't know what just happened. My phone fell off the tripod. So I don't know where I left off. I don't know where it fell. It was a lot of chaos. A lot of things happened. It was nuts. So, so yeah, that used to be my stride pace, right? So getting up to a 5:45 was very hard for me. So this was a big surprise. Like, this was a big surprise. I didn't mean to do this. I can't stress that enough. So that's really cool to me because I didn't train specifically for it. But okay, so here we go. How did I run this sub 6 minute mile without specifically training for it? How did I run the best mile of my life at 39 years old? Well, first off, coaching. I always get asked, because I tell people, I have a running coach, Kirk DeWint, and over at the Running Public, is it worth it? Well, my answer is always unequivocally, duh. Like, yes, it's worth it. If I didn't think it was worth it, I wouldn't, sort of pay for it. But also, just aside from that, like, what's it worth to you to not have to think about what you need to do to get to your best level of running or to get to your best competitive edge for that next event that you want to do? What's it worth to not have to plan that out, to not have to worry about it, to have an accountability coach to sort of track your progress and know when to push you, when to ease you back a little bit? So is it worth it? Yes, because of all those things. Like, you can't put a price tag on it. Well, you can. You obviously can. People do. But like, having that is just, it's priceless. So the next thing that I think happened, so a couple months ago, I got into an accident. It was a horse accident. My horse bucked me off, and it was nuts. I spent 3 days in the hospital, and I fractured my spine, I fractured my pelvis, and it forced me to take time off. Like, it was the first time that I took time off in about a year and a half of going hard. And I do not recommend that way to take time off, but I think that it really helped me because it forced me to recover. It forced my body to build itself stronger. Sure, my processes inside my body were going toward other things, healing other things, but I was also able to recover my running. My legs were running. I did nothing for literally 2.5 weeks before I got back into trying to run. I shouldn't have, like, in hindsight being 2020, probably don't run with a fractured spine and a pelvis after like 2.5 weeks. It's not the smartest thing I've ever done, but I'm very lucky that it so far has worked out. I don't know what that's going to do to me in the future, but right now I'm feeling great, so it's fine. Everything's fine. So I took a big break, 2.5 weeks. And from there, I actually already had races on the schedule, right? So I went right into a road race. It was a 4.8K, it's weird, whatever. And blitzed that thing. It was great. It was fine. I did really well in that. I was very happy with that. I averaged like a 650 mile, I think. And I came in top 10 for my age group. And then that weekend, so this is all still about 3 weeks after the horse accident, so I'm not fully recovered. Things were still hurting. But that weekend, I went for the Spartan trifecta weekend up in Bright. And I basically went, so a trifecta, for those of you who don't know, it's all 3 distances. Now, you can either do an ultra, sprint, and a super. For me, I did the beast, the sprint, and the super. So I've done an ultra with the Spartan before. I was not wanting to do that this time, especially with the trifecta. Maybe I'll do the ultra again, I don't know. But so it was the how did it go? It was the beast the first day. So that was the Saturday. So I got up there on the Friday. I did my shakeout run and everything on the Friday. I did the beast on the Saturday in under, I think 3, I can't remember my time. I'll put it somewhere maybe if anyone cares. It was 3 something. It was PB for me in the beast. And then the next day it was the super followed by the sprint. Yes, it was the super followed by the sprint. And that was a tough day. The super sucked because it was like I was still recovering from the beast, and so the super was just really crappy. I got through it, of course, but the sprint felt a lot better. I did that in a nice time. I was happy with the time. And then I went out again for the ambassador wave. So the ambassador, I'm a Spartan ambassador. So the Spartan ambassador wave, you're just basically running with a different wave and with the ambassadors and making sure that the newbies are doing, they're doing fine. You're encouraging them, you're motivating them and all that stuff. So basically, I did the beast, the super, 2 sprints. And that weekend rocked me hard. I ended up in a bit of pain. I had a bit of an accident on one of the cargo nets. My foot got caught in the ambassador wave, and something happened with my pelvis. It just went, no, we don't like that. So I stayed an extra night because I didn't feel comfortable driving home 3 hours. But anyway, so I did that, and then like that was like an overstimulus weekend. Like that was an overstimulus week because I had the workouts that I was already doing. I had one big race on the roads, and then I had the trifecta weekend plus an extra sprint on the weekend. So it was overstimulus, really overstimulated. Muscles are working, systems are working, and it was just like that weekend. I sort of had a shift of mentality. Like it was just like I have to really learn to embrace the discomfort, to live in the discomfort. Like I got to live in that as long as possible. And just because I'm tired doesn't mean that means I have to stop. It doesn't mean that I have to stop and walk. So I had that sort of breakthrough that weekend. And then the following weekend was a trail run in the Yangs. So like back-to-back trail runs plus that week of working out. And it was just, I just did a little experiment with myself up the Flinders Peak, right? And there's always like parts where I want to just walk it. And I was just like, what if I don't walk this right now? Because it's a good climb, right? It's about a 1.5 kilometers up, and I don't know however much elevation. I'll put it somewhere, but it's good, 15 to 30% incline depending on where you are. And I was just like, what if I don't stop to walk here? What if I just take another 500 running steps, count them out, and then see where I'm at? All right, screw it. So I did that. I just ran. I kept running. I kept a jogging motion. It wasn't fast by any means. You're running up a friggin' hill. But I'm like, I'm just going to keep going until I get to 500 and see what happens. And I got to 500 and I'm like, well, this is an interesting thing. I'm going to keep going. And then I just kept going and I just kept running. And so it's like you learn to live in the discomfort versus the pain versus the fatigue and what that all means. So discomfort means it's uncomfortable. Duh. You're racing, you're running, you're working hard. Pain, maybe there's an injury there. You have to really pay attention to that. Fatigue, are you tired enough to stop? Do you have to stop? But there is a long way between discomfort and pain and fatigue. So discomfort doesn't mean that you have to stop. And I learned that over those 2 weeks. And so all of this overstimulus plus all this incline running, and I've been doing a lot of that lately on the treadmill at 15% incline, running at the trails. Like today I did a 2-hour trail run and I PB'd my ascent up Saddleback, which is nuts. And like I'm the fastest I've ever been on the trails, the fastest and strongest I've ever been on the inclines. And they say that hill work and incline work is speed work in disguise, right? So it's putting all these things together. It's taking the extra time to not walk. It's pushing yourself that little bit more. It's making sure that you can keep going, knowing that discomfort's not going to kill you. It's not going to stop you if you don't let it. The reality is 50% of it is physical, 50% of it is mental. You know, there's always people that say, well, it's 80% mental and 20% physical. I don't buy that. I think it's 50-50. I think they work in tandem. But your mind, depending on how hard you're working, sometimes is 80% ready to stop, right? So it's 50-50, but your mind is 80% ready to stop. So that means your mind can play tricks with you, but you've got to keep going. So how do you figure that out? So for me is motivation. What's my motivation? Can I think about something that's going to keep me going? Can I get something in my head that just makes me want to go, that makes me want to be better? What's my mantra? For that mile PR, it was hang on, hold on. Just keep holding on. And you can use that. You can use that in your entire life, right? It's not just running. It's like, hang on. No matter how hard it gets, hang on, because you've got this. If you just keep going and living in that discomfort, you'll come out of it on the other side. So the actual mile itself. Okay, so I'm 50 minutes into this mile, right? All these things are going on in my head. I'm like, I'm feeling strong. I've never been stronger on the inclines. I just did the DECA. This last couple months has been overstimulus races. I just did the DECA thing, so I've been training different systems with my strength, with my aerobic, with my heart rate, redlining with strength work rather than just running. So it's like my body's primed. I've had some really great workouts, some of the best workouts that I've ever had. Like the other week, it was like a mile hard at about 30 seconds slower than 5K pace, followed by a mile not so much recovery, a float recovery. So that means still a hard mile. So about 60 seconds quicker, slower than that. So that ended up for me being about a 6:55 to 7 minute fast hard mile, then an 8 minute sort of recovery mile. So that you're working the entire time, and you're doing that for 10 miles. And that was the best workout I've had in a long time. And I'm building these workouts. I'm putting money in the bank with each of these workouts because I'm just living in the discomfort. I'm getting my body used to just go, 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 push past the pain. So this run, I'm 50 minutes in, and I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling good. I've just seen a billboard with my face on it because we're doing Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and like apparently we're famous now. So we've got like this billboard, and I'm like, oh, that's freaking cool. So I had, I took a couple minutes to like take some photos of that. So I've 50 minutes, like I rested a little bit in the middle of this run, but it's still a moderate run, right? I'm doing like an 8:45 to a 9 minute mile. And so I think 7 miles into it or whatever it was, no, 6 miles into it, whatever it was, I was like, I'm just going to do this. I've got straight road ahead of me. It's relatively flat. It's not downhill. It's not uphill. It's pretty flat. And there's limited like traffic lights or anything that's going to get in my way, like crosswalks. And I was like, you know what, to hell with it. I'm just going to see what happens. And I didn't think for a damn second that I was going to be able to do this. I was just like, I'm just going to run hard and see what happens. So I start running. So I start running hard right at the end of the previous mile. And right away, I'm into like a 5:50 pace. And I'm like, all right. Let's see how long I can hold this. And I'm just going for it. And I'm going back and forth between a 5:45 and a 5:50, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And 200 meters in, maybe, I'm like, I start slowing down a little bit. I'm like, oh man, I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, that's kind of disappointing. Maybe I'll just stop. But then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to stop. I'm going to push it hard right now, and I'm going to see what happens. Because for me, when I'm racing and I want to hit a pace or a goal, my thing is, my thought process is I should be thinking, I don't know if I can hang on to this pace. I just definitely don't know. It's not too slow. It's not too fast. I just don't know if I can hold it for the required amount of time for this distance. So I just pick it up. I was like, I'm just going to surge right now. And I'm only 200 meters in. So the mile is a funky little bitch. Sorry. But like the mile is something that you probably want to like live in that discomfort until you can pick it up maybe in your last 200 to 400 meters. You don't want to pick it up too quickly because you'll lose it really quickly, right? You'll bleed out, you'll fade, and you won't. But I was just like, nah, I'm doing this. So I surged right away, and I'm running like a 5:30 mile, and I'm holding that as long as I can. And finally I get to 800 meters, and I'm still right around the 5:45 pace, and I'm just like, wow, dude, this is where the light at the end of the tunnel starts to come into play. And it's like, wow, I'm halfway through. Like, this is intense. Like, you just surge again. And I'm surging again. I hit a 5:30 mile pace again. And you can't hold that because if your PR is 5:45, you can't hold the 5:30. That's obviously. Could I have? I don't know. I got to the end of it and I was like, could I have gone faster? I don't know. But you don't want to play those mind games with yourself. So I'm surging, and you get to 1,200 meters, and you're like looking at your watch, and you're just like, whoa, okay. That's the other thing. I didn't even look at my heart rate. I didn't care because that can sometimes mess with you. So I've stopped looking at my heart rate lately, unless I'm on a recovery run and it needs to be at a specific place. But on a quality run or a workout, I'm like not looking at it. I'm just going by feel, pace, and how I'm going. So I'm 1,200 meters in, and I look at my watch for the pace and the time, and I'm like, wow, okay, I've only got a lap around a track now. And even if I slow down substantially, I'm still going to PR my mile by at least 5 or 6 seconds. Like, at that point, I'm like, I'm going to PR my mile today in the middle of this run. And then I'm like, but I'm not going to do it by like 5 or 6 seconds. I have it in me right now to break a 6-minute mile. Go sub 6. I've never done that before. This is going to suck. This last 400 meters is going to suck. Understand this, know this, accept this. Time trials suck. 5K, 10K, mile. Half marathon, a little bit more comfortable. Marathon, a little bit more comfortable. But like mile and 5K are the worst. And the last 400 meters of this mile really sucked. But it was a strong suck. It wasn't like like, oh my God, I'm gonna bleed out. And I finished it, and I got through it, and I hit that 1.61 kilometers, 1 mile, 5:45, and I was like blown away. I like stopped my watch and I was like, oh my God, I just did that. I took like a 3 or 4 minute break, just long enough to message Kirk about it. And I was just like, I've just done a PR in my mile without training for it. And then I still had, at that point, I still had like 15, 20 minutes to go on my run because it was a 70-minute run. And I was like, all right, well, I'll finish the run now. And so at that point, I'm still running an 8:45 mile after that at my recovery heart rate pace because my body was working so hard, and 8:45 feels like nothing. So like that tells me right there how strong I've been and how strong I've gotten. And like, it's all these things. It's embracing the discomfort. It's overstimulus, which you shouldn't do a lot. You shouldn't do it often. There's gonna come a point in the next couple months where I plateau hard, probably, and then I'll have to rethink my strategy. But right now, it's just going up, 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 up. That doesn't always happen. It's having the coach who can tell you to do the hard thing. It's living in that discomfort and not giving up, knowing that you've still got more in you. And then it's figuring out what it is that you want to do. Do you want to stop or do you want to keep going? Is there a magic pill? No, it's hard work. But if you take the right combination of hard work, you're going to be running things that you never thought possible. It amazes me. Like, I know I've said this a bunch of times, but it is wild to me that I didn't train to run my fastest mile, but I ran it based on the work that I've been doing, the money that I've been putting in the bank. So that was what I wanted to come on here to say. Was, for me, it was overstimulus, a lot of trail work. Hill work is speed work in disguise. It was consistency probably being the most important thing. And it was just embracing the discomfort and trying to find something greater that is within. And once you do that, sky's the limit. So that was one of those milestones where it's like, all right, well, that's the new milestone. That's the new standard. Where do we go from here? So I guess that's all I have to say about that. Look, if you enjoyed this video, if you want more fitness tips, if you want more running stuff, if you want more cosplay stuff, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, ding, ding, and check out my Melbourne Superman Instagram page. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.